Hey there, Nicki Traikos here of Life I Design. I haven't recorded a little chat like this in a while. Consider it a new episode for Life I Design, the podcast. Who knows, maybe I'll get back to podcasting. I really love podcasts. I throw them on my headphones, take a podcast with me on my morning walk. I did a bunch of episodes during COVID. It got a little hectic. Let me know if you want me to record some new Life I Design podcast episodes for you. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to grab your favorite drink. I have a little bit of a refreshing drink with me. Maybe grab your sketchbook, grab your art supplies. I'm going to chat with you about my biggest secret for how to improve your art. And it's really not a secret. It's not. I'm going to share with you though. Okay, let's get into it. When I started Life I Design in 2012, I had one goal in mind. Well, maybe I had about 12, but my real big goal was to be an artist full-time, like a working artist that was thriving, that wasn't a starving artist. I wanted to be an artist in whatever form that looked like, and I wanted to make money from my art. I wanted to be able to support my family and contribute to our household and all of those things, but essentially I wanted to be a working artist. I wanted to make art and I wanted to design things and create things and just have that energy and that buzz and that excitement of something new. And I wanted it to be my full-time thing. I wanted it to be who defined me as an artist. So I wanted Nicki to be known as an artist. I wanted a creative business. I've always been entrepreneurial. Have tried many things before Life I Design, but I really wanted to make a living from it. I envied people who weren't defined by what they did, but it suited their personality. And what I did didn't suit my personality, I believe, until I started really truly living authentically, and that was being a creative, being a creator, being an artist. And over the years that has changed, and I, learned a new skill. I'd say every few months I'm learning something new and diving into practicing and figuring out and problem solving. So what I noticed was the more I paid attention to something very specific and I practiced it and I got focused, the quicker I would master it. So when I was looking to do graphic design and to be able to digitize my artwork, I practiced every day for hours and hours and hours at a time. And I noticed that I would get good at it really quick and it would come to me. And I would remember shortcuts on my keyboard when I was in Photoshop, and I would remember processes without having to look at my notes or to go back to whatever it was that I was learning from, whether it was a class or a book or whatever. And the times when I was trying to learn something new and I couldn't get back to it for a week or two, next, I would stumble and I would get frustrated because it wouldn't come automatically or it wouldn't come easy. And in those moments, I realized it is repetition and practice. So again, no big secret. If you want to improve your art, if you want to improve your watercolor painting, your sketching, your music playing, your dancing, whatever it is, you need to practice it often. And that repetition builds muscle memory. It helps you remember processes and it becomes automatic and easy and enjoyable. Okay? I'm going to give you another example. When I was learning to when I was learning to become a calligrapher and letterer, I was doing that for a lot of different areas in my business. I would sit at my desk and I would practice repeatedly a single letter. I would pick a letter, and I have my favorites because sometimes the flourishes just come really beautifully. I would pick a letter and I would exhaust how often or how much or how little I can change that letter. So if it's an S, because I feel like that's what my hand is naturally doing. If you're watching me, it's my S. There are so many different ways that I can express that letter. And the only way that I could explore that is through practice. And I would get to a point where my desk would be covered in white paper filled with black ink. My hands would be covered in the black ink. And it would be, this meditative process where I would lose myself in that practice, and time would pass, and suddenly in my sleep, I can write the letter S in, 10 different ways because I physically practiced it. So you can watch as many YouTube tutorials as you want. You can watch as many online classes as you want. You can read as many books as you want. If you're not physically putting pen to paper, brush to paper, and practicing, you will not create that muscle memory. You will not build your observational skills. You will not build that confidence and that personal process for creating that brush stroke. I can share with you all of my techniques and all of my tips, and I can make it as simple as possible and easy as possible and have you create, the best results as possible through what I'm teaching you. But if you're not putting into practice what I'm teaching you, you're not going to see the results. I guarantee you. So if your goal is to improve your art, you need to sit down and practice. Now, if you're telling me, but Nicki, I don't have time, I hear you, because I feel like I don't have time to go to the gym and it's something I want to do. But if you decide that you want to do something, you need to make that time. And I understand we're busy. I know that there's, a pressure of time, but I feel like we waste a lot of time these days. And I've said it again and again. Technology is an amazing thing. If it wasn't for technology, I wouldn't be able to reach you and share this message with you. I wouldn't be able to learn the things that I want to learn. I wouldn't be able to, again, just share the things that I'm sharing if it wasn't for technology. But I feel like sometimes we waste too much time watching other people doing things. And that's one of the big reasons. There are a few reasons why I don't create tutorials here on YouTube where, I'm just showing you how to paint something very specifically. I talk about this a lot because I feel very passionately about it. I want you to spend the time here. I'm hoping that you're sketching and maybe you're color mixing and you're connecting with your tools. You don't need to be looking at me to hear my message. You can be practicing while I'm chatting with you. We spend a lot of time observing what other people are doing, and they are working on their skill. They are honing in on their practice. They are doing everything that I want you to do so that you can improve your skill, so that you can connect on a deeper level to what it is that you're doing in this tactile practice that we get to have when we paint and we draw and we express our inner artistic spirit. They are doing everything that I want you to do. So I'm going to urge you to spend a week and really figure out how you spend your free time. So yes, there are moments when we're sitting in a car and we, are driving to work or driving our kids somewhere. So yes, there are moments when we are working or at school or doing something that we have to do. But what are you doing in between those moments? Are you sitting on the gram looking at reels? I do that, but I give myself a timer. I will set a timer for 15 minutes where I can just consume and without guilt. Are you binge watching Netflix shows? I do that, but I don't allow myself that time until 9 o'clock at night where I have exhausted myself and I'm ready for some mindless Netflix watching. What I do is find the moment. So when my kids were younger and time was an issue for me, I would wake up earlier and I would sit with my morning coffee and I would journal or I would sketch or I would get some work done. I would find the moments that I needed when I was freshest. So maybe for you, it's late at night when your house is quiet and everyone's gone to sleep. I'm an early bird. I have my most energy, clarity, focus in the morning. But some people are opposite. You might be nocturnal, and that's when you feel the most energized and you've got that time. Then make that the time where you sit and practice. I wanted to consume more podcasts. It's where I get my inspiration and motivation, specifically for my business. So when I am chopping vegetables and getting dinner prepped, I pop in an earbud, I throw on my favorite podcast, and I will consume as I am doing a chore. So sometimes when it's video, if you're taking a class, you can't do that. But if you can find a way to multitask and bring it in, I would recommend it. But if you can carve out, even if it's just 20 minutes a day, and it's that consistent practice, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a sec. but 20 minutes, you can carve out 20 minutes. I can carve out 20 minutes for exercise, and it's something I'm doing more again. I can find the time. It's making it a priority. So that's my next thing. Make your practice something that you have to do, and it will happen. I was chatting with someone recently, and they said they schedule their workouts in their week on Sunday before they even get to anything else. And I'm like, I love that. I'm going to do that for myself. So I've started blocking in the time for my workouts, because that's one thing that I know I need to create consistency in, and it's important to me, and I need to make the time for it. So it's non-negotiable. Sometimes some things happen and I don't get to it, but I know that I'll take the dog for a longer walk those days. But if you can set the time in your calendar, let your family know, whoever it is that you live with, if you have distractions, let them know that that's something important to you. And I've talked about this before. Make sure that they're on board so that they know what your goal is, and that solidifies your practice. And when you make it repetitive and daily, you're actually building that muscle memory quicker. So you'll see results more quickly. Your confidence will grow. The enjoyment will grow. So all the benefits of practice really comes down to being able to set time to do it and to do it often. Okay, does that make sense? So if you are maybe sketching and painting and drawing along with me, I'm about to share with you my desk. I want you to see some of my practice, because I've been working on my portrait skills, and my portrait skills is something that since a child I've loved to draw and portraits of people, and I don't necessarily want it to be realistic and have it look exactly like the person, but it's a process of being able to understand where features go, creating balance and maybe some emotion and a feeling for when I'm looking at portraits. I'm just going to decide which sketchbook to show you. But the only way that I got really good with portrait drawing is by practice and by drawing some not so good portraits and like having them look maybe, I don't want to say good. I feel like that's not a term that we should be using in our art as much, but primitive, a little bit primary, maybe, not as balanced. Like there are parts, these are early sketches. There's some from 2022. We're in 2024 now. So imagine I've grown so much in my portrait skills that you can start to see the growth. Sometimes when I sit down to draw a portrait, even today, it just doesn't connect, doesn't click. But sometimes I, am really happy with the process. So these are all pencil sketches, some other fun sketches. I love tarot, so playing around with some of that. So you start to see really the development of my process, the development of the tools that I use. I love graphite, I love pencil, and it wasn't until the 100-day project, I know I have some in here, this is a sketchbook that I'll be using more of. It wasn't until the 100-day project where I really started to develop this practice for becoming more expressive in the portraits that I was working on, allowing myself some creative freedom to use different tools and mediums in my practice. These are some of my favorite that I will go back to. But it wasn't until this daily practice that I realized I was getting better and I was enjoying it and I was excited at the results I was seeing. And I wanted to do it more. And yeah, there are aspects of my portraits that maybe didn't turn out. And there are aspects where I thought I can do this better. But it was really where things started to click and where I started to, again, notice when I started feeling more successful in my process and really understanding where I was putting features and how I can create emotion through these features, where it inspired me to do it more and more and more. So that is what I want for you. I want you to feel successful. I want you to feel strong in your process. I want you to feel centered and grounded in what you're creating and how you're creating, so that you can enjoy what you're doing and what you're working on, and so that you can have fun, and it can serve more than just an art practice. Because when you start to have all of these feelings around what you're painting and creating and drawing and working on, it just inspires you to do more and more of it. And it actually, I think, boosts those happy hormones, the serotonin, so that you can express more, paint more, and enjoy that process more, where that's where the happiness comes from. That's, where you ground yourself and you truly are expressing the authentic side of you. That's where you can really start to see your skill grow. And that's the secret to getting better at drawing and painting. I look at these more recent portraits and I start to see Nicki coming through. I start to see my personality coming through and who I am as a portrait artist. I am even more confident in calling myself that. So it's through this practice and through that repetition, that's really the secret sauce to getting better in whatever it is that you're working on. Okay, that's it. It's not a secret anymore. It wasn't even a secret to begin with. But really, what I want you to do is challenge yourself. I did a 100-day project where I was ready. If you followed that last year, I shared on Instagram, I shared in my stories and on my blog. I shared here on YouTube. You can look for those. I really made it easy. Make your practice easy. Make it a habit. Do it every day. The more that you can practice, the more often you can practice. And don't tell me, Nicki, I did an hour last month. I got my practice in. I don't want you to practice for an hour once a month. I want you to practice for 20 minutes a day. 20 minutes a day. It will create a habit. It will create success. It will create joy. It will create confidence. It will create all of those things for you, and you will see your art improve. And soon you will have stacks and stacks of art to show your process that you can look back on, that you can hold and enjoy and go through, and that will inspire you to pick up your tools again and again and again. I promise. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got to listen. I will categorize this as Life I Design, the podcast. If you haven't listened to those episodes, we brought them all here on YouTube. Please sit with your art supplies, put it in the background. Let me walk you through some of my insight when it comes to art and creativity and watercolor and all of those beautiful, amazing things that we get to explore and do. So give me the thumbs up if you like this video or session, and make sure you subscribe and follow along. Make sure you also subscribe to our newsletter, because that's where we release things first. We'll even release things like this first, so you get them in advance of everyone else. And I am happy to be here in your ear and in your space to encourage you. If you have a passion to make art, if you have a passion to learn something new, that, the sky's the limit. It's just a matter of how much you put into yourself and that practice, and you will just explore and be able to enjoy some beautiful things. Okay, so I'll see you next time. Thank you for spending this time with me.